like to open the November 14th, 2024 Culver Redevelopment Commission meeting and remind everybody, including myself, to mute their cell phones and or turn them off. Because if you speak the meeting, then you're giving permission for us to rebroadcast that, the Culver YouTube channel. Okay.
Mr. Seiler.
Here.
Ms. Monroe. Here. Mr. Richard.
Here.
Mr. Oosterbaum.
Here.
Dr. Schumann. Here. I'm here.
I'd like to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Let's read it.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone had a chance to read minutes.
Yes, motion to approve.
That would be for the October 24th. Motion, do I have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
New business, the facade grant from Café Max. Susie, did you want to?
Just here if you have any questions. I know it requires two, but I have been completely unsuccessful since May. That's the only one who would give me a price, and actually the only one who I think is going to follow through. I've worked with the other company for almost 40 years, and I've been waiting on them, and they still think I'm waiting. So they still, that's Plymouth Glass. Rochester Glass came over 3 times, would just give me a verbal. They said 4,000 to 5,000, and they never put it in writing. And this is Harris Glass from Logansport. I think it's Logansport. I'd never heard of them, but my contractor said he has seen their vehicles around. They seem professional. They have different teams, so I guess it doesn't really matter. They're the only ones who would. Yeah.
I guess my question to the rest of the Redevelopment Commission is, how do you feel about you all received a copy of that?
I think since Susie's made an effort since May, I'm very comfortable approving
Yeah.
the one that she got received.
Have we had one before? That was only.
We've never had one that didn't have a second. But I have noticed that the last 2 years, it's been really hard for them to get the second estimate. I know from personal experience that plate glass windows aren't cheap. I know my dad paid over $1,000 for one back in early 70.
Can I ask,
Replaced.
it's been a while since you sent, what was the price on that?
It was $2,587.
Does say no letterings.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't even get an estimate on that because now the window's gonna have to be split. So like the other buildings downtown, so if anyone remembers what the hardware used to look like, those big silver strips, those are half the size of what the windows used to be. So they're making them smaller, or I shouldn't say they're making them smaller, they're dividing the big plate glass window into 2. I also think the Chinese restaurant, which is the Academy's vacant building, is also done that way. I didn't want it. But the glass company said, with the bar where it's at now, they can't get that giant glass in. I asked about putting it in from the outside, because Plymouth Glass said they were gonna do it from the outside. And he said structurally, it can't be done. It still has to be pressed against the trim outside. So, I mean, do you believe one? Do you believe the other? Could it have been done? I don't know. The fact that Rochester Glass was going to almost double the price. They said 4,000 to 5,000. I'm kind of giving up and just taking this, and I'm going to mimic the look on the southern window in that building. Remember, there's two giant plate glass windows. So they're going to give me another dividing strip so I can surface mount it on the glass that's not broke, so at least it looks symmetrical. And then I'll just have to redo the lettering on both windows, and I'm fine with that. I mean, any help is appreciated, especially since it was just a customer tapping on the glass that did it. You know, those things
But
happen.
she can come back for,
Yeah, she could.
you can come back when you get the lettering estimates.
Usually vinyl lettering is not bad.
So
I mean, honestly, Fanatco, although they have sold now, in case you didn't realize, it's not the same owners. Tim Overmeyer and his daughter Laura still work there, but they have sold the company. So in the past, it wasn't bad, but was that because it was, Culver business? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's got to get replaced before winter, though.
is there anything in like our rules, Karen, you know, that would preclude us from approving it with just one estimate?
Other than it goes against our rules.
Right, so I mean,
We could make
an
an
exception.
exception since it's been since May and she's been trying to get estimates, and the glass window is not exactly it's not like you can go down to any store and pick one up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a labor shortage thing, because this is the Plymouth Glass who I've been waiting on. It's the third generation. I used to use the original father, then I used the son, now it's the grandson. I don't know if they're having a labor problem or if they're just moving to big jobs. They say that I'm on the list. It was gonna be July 5th. Still on the list. Long list, apparently.
Apparently.
When we've had to bid out projects, if we only get one in and we rebid it, and we still only get one in, we accept it usually.
Or we also, if you have record of contact that you made attempt,
Oh, yeah, I
if you
got
have the
email.
record of contact, then that counts as going for bid and it just didn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
So if you have those that qualify, then the
Oh.
second bid.
Okay, I can supply those.
Okay, that would be nice.
Would you like a motion?
Yeah.
To approve, the bid that, Susie received?
For $2,587.
Yes. So moved.
Okay,
I'll second.
motion second, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Well, that would be at 50% of the 2,587. You're familiar.
If it gets done.
Good luck.
I actually, whether or not I was gonna receive any grant, I actually did tell them to do it as soon as they can. I have not heard from them since.
Well, it's approved, so as soon as, if they didn't start this morning, you're fine. If they come in tomorrow with the window.
Oh, here's a
you're
question.
fine.
Here's a question. If, because who knows whether or not they'll really ever show up to do it. I mean, I really don't know. I'm hopeful. If one of the other glass companies would come and say, knock on my door tomorrow and say, hey, we got an opening, we can put it in tomorrow. If it's no more than that, could I use one of them? If any, I mean, they all think that they're on the list to do me. I'm just waiting for everybody to show up.
I think as long as it could stay within the amount.
Yeah, as long as it's,
50% of the bid.
Yeah.
having approved it,
Okay.
you would get
would be
50%
1,200.
of that amount,
Yeah.
so.
I think in the past, you've had situations where people have come in with multiple bids and they decide you awarded them the award based on the lowest bid, but they chose to go with someone else, you still reimburse them that low bid amount.
Yeah.
So it would be the case.
I mean, if they come in.
You know how much you have coming towards you. If you end up finding somebody else that'll do it, but it's still a little bit more.
Yeah, if I find anybody to do it, I'll do it. Anybody.
I have one question for Karen, because you didn't send a W-9. Do you have her W-9 on file?
If you could update your W-9, you can just drop it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't email it.
Oh, don't email it?
Don't email it.
Okay.
It'll be out there forever.
No. I'll get it.
So her total facade will be $1,293.50. That's your total grant amount, Susan.
The next item on the agenda is to determine the December meeting date. Assuming that our December meeting is,
It's the 26th December.
you know,
And the day after Christmas.
too close to Christmas, that no one would show up.
Yeah, I'll be in Indianapolis that day for Christmas. So I would have to do it the week before, maybe, or 2 weeks before, if you want to do it before the December 12th council meeting. Well, that night is the night of the US 31 CAG, so I won't be around. So don't schedule around me, do whatever you want.
Okay.
I can go to that.
The 12th, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, because we're,
Yeah. All I've got going is town council. I have to give my dog flea and tick medicine on the 19th, so I'm. Well, it's getting going. It doesn't take all day. So, which do you want, the 12th or the
Would
19th?
With the 10th, Tuesday night, is there, plan commission is the. What number?
Thanks, Susie.
there's
Third is plan commission. Oh,
I think
don't worry about 10th.
Tuesday.
Do the 17th or the 19th.
I can't do the 17th, and we can't because there's a solar meeting.
I can do the 19th. That's a Thursday.
Okay.
Jerry, is that ECA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it starts at 6:30, so if we had it at the same time,
At
we'd be
5.
done prior to, shouldn't
We never have it except the last one.
Okay. December 19th at 5. Marty, does that work for you?
Oh,
Works for me.
the great deal.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Culver Lake Mexican Visitor Center.
Okay. So I have updated funding requests from the last time. We were here, so I have a copy for everyone that covers events, front and back, and also projects for 2025. So I'm starting back. You look at the lines at the top. You want them? Okay, so for the events, we did go back through and talk about, we'll see event number 6, a wine festival for next year. So we are planning to bring that back for the wine and beer festival. So we allocated some funds from the holiday weekend. We originally asked for $1,750 for that, took $250 out of that, and then we are asking for another $1,500 for that wine and beer festival. So those, each event there will be $1,500. Again, for signage, posters, programs, for vendors, for that event. So that the total now will be $19,250 for our events. Other than that, our other events did not change. We just subtracted the 250 out of the holiday weekend from that original ask that we did last month. And then for the projects, I don't believe anything in here changed. I did update, there's a little sample now of the 2024 staycation PDF in there. Obviously, if you can read that, that's great. I cannot read that. But there is a little PDF in there. So that will again be updated here. No, by November 22nd is when we'll submit that for next year. Our event photography, we're gonna have the photographer come in for, I believe, Winterfest and Lake Fest next year to capture those. I did also update the videography. You will see there's now a link listed on there to our Fall Fest video. So he was here for Fall Fest, did a video for us for that. That is now on our website too. So that is there for anyone to view. That was one of the best attended ones. And everyone, of course, it was great weather. Last year was a little rainy and cold. So plan on doing, the projects did not change from the last meeting we were here. So the project total is still 23,850. And then our final ask did go up to 43,100, adding in that wine and beer festival. So adding in that extra 1,500. And then you'll see on the back, we did have our Fall Fest last year was just late October. We have set those dates for October 25th and 26th. Having it right around Halloween time really helped with attendance, the trunk or treat, the costume contest. I know all the parties in town with Lake House and BFW. So that really helps. We kind of wanted to keep it around that same time. And then you'll see the wine and beer festival set for then September 6th. So that'll be right after Labor Day. Hopefully a lot of the summer people are still here that time, but it won't coincide with Monterey Days, Labor Day. So that'll hopefully help bring some more people here, since they'll be out of town probably the weekend before in Plymouth, or Plymouth and Monterey. So we did increase that a little bit. Any questions?
Take that all under consideration.
Okay.
Appreciate.
Good, absolutely, absolutely.
I think the wine festival was one that
It's one that's been on the agenda, I know, for as long as I've been here,
a
so.
number of people have asked about. I don't agree.
And we're hoping by offering the craft beer as well, that'll help bring in not just the wine, but also the beer, the people that don't drink wine and are more into craft beers, so.
Yeah.
And then will that be, but I know this is a question I will be asked, will that be voted on?
Probably confirmed next year. We'll be setting our budget to where
Okay,
I think it's got enough flex in it that it would still cover that
okay,
1,500.
Yeah, I think we put some funds in the spending plan specifically for.
Yeah.
Visitor center.
Perfect. So probably know the January-ish meeting, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, we approve our spending plan later tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do it in December meeting, couldn't we?
Yeah,
The December meeting?
That-
Okay.
I mean, I started, I believe you said last month, right?
Yeah, well, you need to start ordering stuff.
For Winterfest at least, yes, because we're already beginning to, plan Winterfest, so. I just know that's a question I'll be asked is when, so I want to make sure I have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
You may want to take a vote on the items as presented and then treat the spending plan as a separate item.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it because we saw it last time too, and I know you were going back to look at promotions, et cetera. So I mean, I would make the motion that we approve the 43,100 for the 2025 year to they can begin whatever work they need to do now.
Have a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Aye. Motion carries.
thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Next is the September financial report. Do I need to read this?
would say I've looked at it in my email already.
Okay. We have a total of claims of, sorry, I'm doing claims, man. Financial. Are there any questions on the financial? It says 10/31, so it'd be October.
Yeah.
We did the September last month, didn't
Yes,
we? Okay.
we have a total, well, a beginning balance of 466,000 some change. In TIF 1, 323,400 and change in TIF 2, for a total of 789,472. And with our expenditures, we have an expenditure. Even my wife wants to go in here. I should have brought my,
I'm trying to blow it up on my own computer.
I have the 1031 one, is that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
57, 39, 25.
Yeah, I just-
that's, okay.
we have an ending balance of 782,200 and change. Expenditures were 10,618. It looks like. So, anyway, do I have a motion to approve the financials?
So moved.
Second.
Just like it right.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
yeah, we had found this says September, that's where. I think.
Yeah.
So it's October.
Oh, yeah, that's the September on there, should be October. Under old business, we have approval of claims. And we have a total of $8,866.94 in claims. Visitor center. That's the majority of that. Troyer Group was $179.70 and $99.74. So
Motion to approve the claims.
thank you, Chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have the next item on the agenda is spending plan for 2025. Spending commitments. I know that I know that Jerry and Buck. I know that Marty changed a couple of items. One because we had talked about keeping a reserve of a couple $100,000, and which brought the capital expenditure down.
I'd be happy to walk you through it if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't you? Because I'm not a.
I forwarded an updated version of what we saw last meeting. And what we agreed to, as I heard it, was we were going to give some 250% coverage to our debt commitment for next year. So it's an $80,000 commitment roughly. And so we increased the debt service reserve to $300,000 in the spending plan. The capital expense, the category that we put to, after all the other expenses are subtracted. So I'm going to skip that. We had agreed on a professional expense number of $150,000. So that remains unchanged from last time. Same thing with grants and contributions. We can go over the thinking behind that, but if you recall it from the last meeting, then perhaps we don't need to go over that. We spent a lot of time last meeting talking about the police and fire capital expenditures, and where I thought we landed on that was a $250,000 commitment for next year, and we kind of split that commitment, $200,000 directly from the CRC and then 50,000 from the township, or on behalf of the township. Not exactly sure how that money would get into the right bucket, but that's kind of what we thought, since the township wouldn't be able to afford what we thought their share was, that we would make that contribution to the township, or on behalf of the township. Then we looked at what was available to us through the educational and training programs category, and as I recall, there was quite a bit of latitude with respect to supporting the local school and work that they may be doing in this regard, upskilling or with respect to the students. And so we allocated 20,000 there. The same thing with the employee training. That also, I believe, involved the ability to work through the school district on that. And then the permissible reimbursements was really the visitor center category, as we discussed it. We just approved some 45,000. I bumped that up to 75,000. That's probably a little high, but I just wanted to make sure that they had enough room if they thought of new and innovative ways to work on attracting visitors to Culver. There's a couple of ideas that I'd like to see them explore. So I think there's a good possibility that at the end of the day, they're going to want to spend more than 45,000. How much more, I don't know. But I just thought that, we don't have to spend the money, but I'd like to make sure that the money is available. So that's how I wanted to put that number. And if you subtract all those categories, that leaves capital expenditure money available of 423,808. And that's how I got there.
I guess, Marty, my question on the 250,000 for police, fire, EMS, capital, and operating expenses. If it still reflects as 200, do we put that there, or do we put an extra 50,000 into the grants and contributions? Because we do grants and contributions other than, or have in past years.
Boy, that's a great question, Sally, because I thought there was a specific category for township. Maybe that's where we thought the township, that we would grant it to the township, right, or contribute it to the township, that 50.
Well, I'm not seeing that specific on this form. I do believe you're correct that one of the forms that they showed us had that on it. But I guess what I'm saying is, do we wait and tack that after this is approved, or do we put it under grants and contributions and then slide it to, they have a listing for township?
I think we're probably going to have to put it under police fire.
That's what we had
Yeah,
before. Marty, on your first one you sent, you had 250 under the police fire and then another 50 under grants contribution.
and I think that, well, we could take that out of debt service as well, because,
Right.
that just make both of them 250.
Okay.
And
That
does
makes
that mean facade program
Yeah.
comes out of capital?
I think facade either would come out of,
Or does it have to be put under a grant? Is we're granting it?
that's my question.
We didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, capital expenditures, but yeah, it is a grant, right? It probably ought to be in that category.
So take 90 out of capital, move it to grant, and take 50 out of debt service and move that to police fire.
Yeah.
It's good by me.
So if we decide to do a new type of program for Main Street businesses, like, you know, if we end up doing another program like rent or business expansion or equipment or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Could we pull a program like that out of capital expenditures? Because we'd be specifically helping with the capital expenditure. Right? You follow? If we create a new program in
Yeah.
2025, I think that bucket's probably okay for that. I'm just making sure it is, I guess.
And I think that,
Well,
you know,
it's just a guiding plan, right? I mean, it's
I know.
just a,
yeah, Karen had said it one time that, you know, they've made it so that you have to jump through quite as many hoops to make an adjustment.
yeah,
So, you know, that is possible to
okay,
do after we prove it.
Yeah, remember, everything we spend has to be capital, right? We can't reimburse operating expenses. So in the event of the program you discussed, supporting a Main Street program, that would be like a project-based, you know, program and would fit under capital expenditures from my perspective.
okay. That's probably how Façade started at some point. They're just now categorizing them. Or making us categorize them.
And I did find, you know, this one grants, says grants and loans, and financial assistance. Also, this repair of commercial properties, and I think the facade grants would fit under that, and that's grants and contributions.
Okay.
So you have it in the right spot.
So I would make a motion to approve the plan with the following changes. Lower the capital by 90,000, so we can put that 90 into grants and contributions to cover Façade. Lower the debt service by 50,000, so we can put that 50 into the police fire capital. And I think it's good to go.
Okay.
Based on all the previous conversations we've had.
That's motion. Do I have a second to her motion?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thanks to all of you for all your work on it.
Oh,
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. You did more than I did, even though you booked out of town. But I know. Let's see. Do I have any public input?
Actually, Marty asked me to speak tonight. We had a meeting.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Hi, Kevin Dante. We were able to meet with Andy Settlemeyer and Josh Presser over at the Academy. Don Fox was also included in the meeting. He arranged it. And we thank him for that. The topic of the meeting was to see their vision or input in terms of how they see the CRC for development. What were some of the interests and priorities of the Academy when it came to town? The categorization, Marty did send you his notes on that. The conversation centered around, essentially, they were very interested in the dunes. They were wondering how that's going to integrate with the Academy in terms of housing and living. One of the things that we noted by accident during the course of conversation was that the paths that we have developed through town actually lend themselves for bicycle and foot traffic moving between there and the Academy. So it is kind of a natural connection. One of the things that they emphasized about town development, and they were vague, but it's interesting. They said more things to hold faculty and staff in town between the end of the school day and their events. There's oftentimes a 3 to 4 hour gap, having experienced that on a personal level. If you don't live in town and you head to Plymouth, you're less likely to come back and support kids. And that is one thing. I think the estimate that Josh gave, and it was an estimate that was around 40% of faculty are not living in Culver. And I think we can capture some of those people with the housing development and bring some energy back in. The other thing is the relationship with community. One of the areas that they identified that is an overlap and a possible area for development for that relationship is the park. We noted that during several conversations about park superintendent position or the supervisor position, and the beach lodge seems to be a natural place for that. Some interest in there. They also noted that they would like their kids to have several opportunities inside of town to become more members of the community, especially when it comes to arts and culture. Arts and culture was a big topic for them, bringing in entertainment, but also opportunities to woodwork, like for uptown, ceramics, that kind of stuff. I did mention to Josh an interest by the town, not speaking out of turn here, that we do have empty storefronts up front that they own. And we would love to be able to see Ron Rubin, our entrepreneurial school, develop a rotating store there and put a storefront in that may change every year, but has the academic facility with J.D. Ubler overseeing it and bringing a store in there. And there'd be possibly a cooperative project with community as well. And that would be another great opportunity, two birds, one stone, forming a better relationship there. The arts and culture is a big deal for them in town. And they are very excited to hear some of the different possibilities. We mentioned there's interest in developing the theater as well as developing some different venues down at the park. And they were totally supportive of that. Things to do off campus. That's always their topic, right? How do they get their kids engaged, keep their faculty and staff? One of the things, having worked there and being part of town, naturally, it was effortless for me to see myself as a community, part of this community. I think that necessarily isn't always the case with new faculty coming in. And as they integrate new faculty into their campus, we also need to make an attempt to integrate them into shopping and different venues here in town. I know that they opened their doors this year to some of the downtown businesses and Main Street businesses to kind of get that registration again. I think that might go a long way, but we really need to foster that and get more opportunities to put the kids and the faculty and staff in front of the opportunities we have here in town. Marty, if I'm missing anything, if you're still there in the great ether, please chime in.
No, I think you got it. I just really it was impressed upon me how important it is that there be things that they can do off campus. You know, they just mentally need to get off of campus to break, you know, on both the students and the faculty. And the more that we can provide them with things to do off campus, it's kind of a win-win because it benefits the academy and it benefits the town, obviously, right? They're more integrated and active in the town. And it's just that where that path ends at the park, it's just a natural meeting place for those two groups, you know, for the town and for the academy. And, you know, a lot of lakefront, community people spend a lot of time in that park too. And it just kind of reemphasized to me that investments in our park is a good way to reach out to all three communities, you know, big stakeholder communities that we've got in Culver.
I'm kind of intrigued by this idea of new faculty and staff, because if they don't know the community and, you know, the shops they can go to and the things they can do. So we don't have a chamber anymore that would do a welcome to new faculty. I know we set up a booth at the registration, and I'm sure we could do the same at the community school, right? So maybe we fund our visitor center to be able to take their marketing pieces. They're already in touch with our businesses on these event plans. You know, there's a lot of event planning going on with Andrea and Hanna both. So if we could leverage that into how do we welcome new teachers at the community school, at the academy, and even new residents, because we have access to new residents through the billing software. You know, what we're doing.
Okay.
Somehow we should be showing up with, welcome to Culver. Here's a basket that tells you everything about the community that you might want to know. And
I think there's two things that I think we're kind of evolving and restructuring a little bit. And in the wake of that, it may present itself with who has the best opportunity to present that. I think the second thing I would say is not treating those as exclusive three opportunities, but creating one opportunity to bring our community together as one. So not having a separate for the academy or community or new residents, but hosting a singular event that brings all three constituencies into our town and try to foster that relationship a bit more. I think that was one of the things that resonated with me as Josh and Andy were speaking, is not creating that barrier beyond Logansport Gate, right?
Yeah, I think they would need to help us on scheduling that when they have their onboarding and orientation times, like
With Karen.
an event on Main Street for all new residents, new teachers, new whatever, that the town can sponsor along with visitor center. I mean, we've got lots of people who do this really well, right?
I think
But
so.
like, let's place them down there. I don't know. We need to get,
Without any street closure.
we need to get with the merchants and
They have tried the welcome package that you're talking about. Those just giving things doesn't work. We've talked about that before. I've worked with Josh, giving him packages, welcome gifts. I've talked to the merchants to find out what kind of a turn back in did they give. And I think the last time we did it, there was 63 packages I created and 5 were redeemed.
yeah, so not good.
Yeah, it's not, it requires the town, it requires the merchants struggle and try so many different things, but it requires the support from the administration on the other end, like the academy doing more than just handing in the basket, the public school more than just telling the teachers when something is. If we can do more with, email blasts, we've had difficulty in communications, following through. I don't really know what's left. Events seem to work, but if we can get both schools.
Belly to belly is probably more powerful than anything you'll
Yeah.
ever do.
That's a food and drink.
If
It brings
we can-
people together.
If we can get the schools to promote,
Sorry, go ahead.
and so if we can get the schools to promote, that would be great. But it's gotta come from the top down, because just creating events doesn't get them, it's gotta be, more than just once. It's gotta become a pattern.
Do you think part of that is
Have-
them not living in town?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you think part of that is them not living in town? What do we say?
I think it doesn't help the situation.
The academy, it's a world all its own, but even with our public school, it's the same way. Also, we still have a disconnect. I don't know if Karen can address it, but there are people at the public school who feel there's a bad taste in their mouth. They think the town caters to the academy or the out-of-towners, and we're painted with the broad brush of, you don't want us locals, blah, blah, blah. I'm a local. I hear that. I get that. And I always like to say, your money's green. I'll take anybody's money. I don't care. But that is an issue that we deal with. Then the academy is so busy because those faculty members don't just teach. They then have to do duties. So they have to do track and field stats, or they have to chaperone buses, or they have to, if you don't just have your teaching job, you have to do other stuff. And so they're pretty busy. When they're done, if they live in Plymouth, they get the hell out of here and they don't come back. Having the dunes, I think, will be helpful because they will be living in town. They have the opportunity to now live in town. So if they live in town, I think they're more likely to do things in town. So I think
That's what they.
that's gonna be very helpful. But in the meantime, we tried everything. I tried to get on the faculty association at the academy's rotation to have, like, practically give food and drink away, and I can never seem to get on it.
I think.
We tried to do events for specifically for the teachers at the public school. It's got to be something like every month, and I just don't know what to do.
But I think it's worth, I agree. I think that some of the difficulties of the past are good to keep in mind, but I think putting some energy, and I think you're 100% right. It starts with the leadership.
We've got,
100% right on that. from experience. But I did hear during the course of that meeting, I did hear a leadership that was more receptive on their end. And I think there's a lot of possibility to reinvent this. What that looks like, it will be fun. We'll find out, but I have to agree with the put food in the belly and drink in hand, and you're off to a good start.
That usually attracts the most people.
Yeah, I mean, I smell pork, I'm coming.
Did they mention any specifics for the students, activities for the students? I mean, you said.
Yeah, they were very excited to hear that, as everyone is, there's a possibility of that theater getting redone. There's a lot of momentum. I mean, we do that, they build the statues in this town.
Yeah.
The second thing I think that they want to be able to have access to is weeknight events or weekend events, right? That can bring the kids out of the quote unquote, and I know this word well, the bubble, right? So you get them out of the bubble, get them in working, doing, like Josh mentioned, a lot of hands-on stuff like pottery and doing active craft stuff and just experiencing and having events like that for them to partake in. I think too, we might be able, Marty and I have spoken about this, but events in the park, open air concerts, or bonfire in the park night on the beach. Karen had a wonderful idea. She shared with me several times of a block party, bringing people together and hosting events and bringing people in, opening your neighborhood or something up to that kind of you hosting of people coming down and experiencing the neighborhood and having fun. There's a lot of possibilities. I do say this, I think that working with kids, I know this, you can't force them, so they have to have a voice. So if we're going to do something, we really need to solicit them and get their leadership and get them on board, right?
Well, we did that.
Yeah.
The
and
beach lodge, and we had a whole plan of renovating the beach lodge, and that was academy and community kids that we met for a year and a half. Had 15,000 proposed, ready to go, and I don't know what happened.
I like to resurrect that.
But I'm not saying that's the answer, but
No.
you have to have a place for them to
The beach-
gather and to become connected.
The basement of the
build
beach lodge has
relationships.
been mentioned. Diane Hansen is very interested in it. She's approached me directly. I've spoken with her in the last 2 weeks. Kind of that, doing up some new programming that not only gives them a place to go, but also fosters community service. Because both student bodies need that. Is something that I'm interested in exploring and I'm having conversations about. So hopefully by the January, that's something that comes to fruition.
I know when we have the kiln shop, half our customers on the weekend are students from
Yeah.
the academy.
They enjoy it. And Josh referenced that.
And a couple of them would sit there like all weekend.
But it will live and die by the students.
But we worked really hard on building that bridge between community and academy, and then COVID shut them down totally, and it hasn't rejuvenated, like a lot of things haven't
Okay.
rejuvenated since COVID, and part of it is there needs to be that venue
There needs to be a venue, a physical location.
that allows.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of how many people that are in their 30s and 40s that are married couples now that were one a community and one was an academy, and they never get that connection, or rarely.
It's a Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, yeah. I'm not saying we need to connect people, but we do need to connect people,
I
but
mean,
not
Karen,
never.
you're pitching an idea for a new date app.
Hey, there you go. Actually, physically, you can meet instead of online, but yeah.
All right, that's probably more than you need.
Yeah. Is there any other public input? Member input?
I had one thing, I wrote Karen and Kevin kind of last minute. I think we were approached last year by Linda Yoder for the One MC organization. Did a presentation, we never got back to them. They're making the rounds again. So I was gonna suggest we put them on the agenda for December maybe, and make a decision on whether we're contributing to One MC. I think they still want to hire an executive director. They're still moving on. I no longer sit on the board, so I haven't totally kept up on what's going on, but I know
That's my
they're
understanding.
coming back around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and I know where our funds kind of lie in terms of this year And now next year with our spending plan, but, you know, if we have funds remaining from this year and we want to contribute to YMC, I think we should. That's all.
Gary? Karen?
Just want to let everyone know the park restrooms are closed. It has been winterized, so the one by the school, I don't know if the ones downtown are not yet, but that park is closed. We are still in the running. I shouldn't say we, the Culver Youth Club is still in the running for a new facility on our elementary campus. He speaks to one grant, Ready Grant tomorrow, and then working with Lilly Grant to hopefully at least fund half of that project. Hopefully construction starting sometime in the spring and being done by August of 25 would be hope. So that we can provide daycare for new faculty that are moving potentially into the dunes and pay for, or not pay, provide location for a daycare during the day and then the youth club being there in the afternoon.
Hey, Karen, did you make a presentation to the partnership?
Tomorrow. I don't, Brian. Brian's making it, yes.
Thank you.
Marty, did you have anything?
No, but thank you.
Okay. The next item is on the agenda is to adjourn and sign claims. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, yeah.
That's one that's always unanimous.